Hello again, everyone. Welcome to PodQuester, the after show from last night. Very excited. Another great mini. I think I had a high opinion because I think it was a really, really good cast. And it was a solid mini, but I feel like a lot of this cast has a lot of future potential to go far. So I'm very excited to speak with them. And we have a decent amount who are going to be here. So without further ado, let's bring in our first batch. And as you know, they'll kind of come and go as we go through the rounds. But we have Megan, Julianna, Michael, Eddie, Jonathan, the winner, and Sindri. Hello. How is everyone this morning?
Good.
Fantastic.
Great. Feeling great.
Drained.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did everyone sleep after the long night? I know for the majority for just about all of you, aside from you, Jonathan, it was your first experience playing Sequester. So how did it go for everybody?
I did not get a wink of sleep. Could not close eyes.
Well, can you even close your eyes, Eddie?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Not the point.
My first one was an early night, so I wasn't ready for staying up for the whole time. I watched the whole mini after I was eliminated for the Latinx one, but I was up for 3-4 hours after this mini. I just couldn't fall asleep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but it was good. It was really quick too. We were done by 12:30, which was really, or 12:30 Eastern, which was really unusual. I think because last night's mini Friday's mini probably took so long. So
I'm bringing Abby as well. Hi, Abby. How are you?
Yeah.
Abby.
I'm good on Abby.
I will. Well, yeah. Let's start there. I mean, we shouldn't gloss over it. I talked about it a whole lot last night, but I still want to talk about it today. There was our very first puppet contestant, so I feel like that's something we should discuss in depth. What was everyone's feelings when they saw Eddie? Did anyone know? Because Audrey had mentioned it the night before that we were going to have our first ever puppet representation on Sequester. Did any of you know that was going to happen, and what was your reaction when you saw that you were playing with Eddie?
Yeah, I had heard rumblings the day of. That there was going to be a puppet, and I mean, the nervous part of me was a puppet is going to beat me no matter what, from an audience perspective. But I wasn't targeting Eddie immediately, you know. Actually, I think I targeted Jonathan immediately.
Yeah.
It seems like my intuitions were pretty on, but. I heard rumblings of it, but I thought it was just a big ball of fun overall.
I heard no rumblings. I was so shocked when there
me
was
too.
I heard no rumblings. I don't know what rumblings were out there, but I heard none of them.
When I was taking my notes, I have in front of me. I wrote Eddie puppet ? Russian ? Who ? Because I thought it was just gonna be it was a bit, and then a real person.
So did I. Yeah, I thought it was just someone's intro.
And then I was like, oh. That's the whole thing.
Julianna had to stare at me for a whole hour.
Yeah,
when we watched it, we were all just
Abby would have not.
I would have been a mess in that room. Oh my god. I can't even look at you now. Oh my god.
I will say, I think the Abby-Eddie relationship was probably my favorite.
You robbed Eddie.
That would have been the
so
final two. The final two that everyone dreams of was you two together.
I had said after I left that if I had gone to a final two with Abby, I probably could have won because she would have laughed hysterically the whole time.
Yeah, I got a Twitter message from a friend afterwards. He was like, okay, was that you playing Sequester? If so, I have a question. And I'm like, yes. And then he said, how are you able to strategize with a puppet without just laughing hysterically? And I'm like, actually, it's weird enough. You get used to it after a couple minutes.
Yeah.
No, not me.
Just
So-
stare into my glazy eyes. It's very easy.
Oh my god.
So Eddie, on the flip side of that, now that we know how they felt playing with you, how did you feel playing with humans? Did you hope that maybe there would be another puppet in the cast? Like, how are you feeling going into this game?
I did not expect other puppets. I know Murph played last week with Ben, so I did not expect him to come back, but I was hoping that I might have other puppet representation, but this was not happened. But
I
I
think
had
all
fun. I
puppet
had lots
mini.
of fun.
All
You've
puppet
opened the
mini
door.
coming soon.
It's true. You've opened the door though. You've opened the door. I feel like a lot of puppets who were, sitting on the couch just watching Sequester, who didn't feel comfortable getting up and actually playing the game, saw you, and you probably, really inspired them to start playing. So we would have to commend you for that, Eddie, for really, helping out the puppet community.
Thank you.
I live
hope
I
we
live-
see Kermit
I live for Abby's reactions every time.
I'm actually gonna cry.
I have watched Twitter video of that
Oh,
moment
God.
like 17 times. It's great.
Yeah, you're viral now, Abby. That was a great reaction.
Oh my god. Eddie's just
Well,
iconic.
It is game changer. So let's get into it. So we got into. Actually, I want to touch on first Maddie's video. Wait, can we get it? Maddie couldn't be here. She wanted to. We love Maddie. What were the opinions of the spaghetti video? Because that was another thing. I was like, we were already thrown off with Eddie the puppet, and then we had this bizarre spaghetti video, which I loved with my entire heart. Did we have any opinions there on that video?
Loved.
So Maddie was in a starting room with me, Abby, and Noah. And when her video came up, she just kind of like started looking, and then I was like, what is this? And then we were just like, oh, this is iconic.
It was too
Oh.
good. Like, I was just oh, Maddie's another icon. I was just
Yeah.
busted up so badly. Like, it was too funny.
And was this Maddie's first time playing too?
I believe so. Yeah.
The fact that her intro was like that iconic.
That was the
on the
best
time,
one, I would say.
I
it
was
was
like,
just too
that's
good.
so good.
Yeah.
Perfectly
It was
like
awesome, yeah.
irreverent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nobody-
like,
Yeah.
and slightly unsettling, which I.
Yeah, maybe a little more than slightly, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if you ate Italian that night for dinner,
Absolutely. So all right, so getting into it. So round one, this was an interesting take on the safety chain. So we switched it up. For this, it was going to be essentially the name in progress flop chain, where people were nominating people to be on the block. Now the progress went from Joe to Michael to Jonathan to Ashley to Stella to other Jonathan. And then finally Sindri. I think that my biggest takeaway from this round was how long it took, in the fact that this probably went on. I don't think we got to round two till about an hour in to the actual game. And I feel like this kind of set the progress for the rest of the game, in the fact that it made the rest of the rounds extremely quick because this round took so long. But this round eventually ended with Michael's elimination due to the LOS play by Joe. But what was everyone's thinking when they heard about this new twist and how they thought to play it?
My first thought was just that the targets had to be one of the first few names, because you wouldn't have time to strategize against anyone that would come later on. Like when my name popped up in the end, it didn't matter at all because nobody could talk about it. So it was mostly just, okay, Michael and Joe are the first two names. Those are the names we have time to strategize against. So
Yeah, when it landed on
that was my takeaway.
when it landed on Joe, my room instantly just said Joe, because we were gonna disperse right after that, and we were just gonna no matter who came up after that, we were just gonna vote Joe. I ended up not voting for Joe, but
yeah, me neither.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it had
Who'd you guys
switched
vote for?
to Michael.
I actually voted for Jonathan L because of the late, like I heard late rumblings of Jonathan L. So I was
Yeah,
like, I'm either I'm gonna go early or Jonathan L is gonna go early because of the Jonathan thing. So I was like, let me put a vote on Jonathan L in case that sends him home, and that ends that right there. So I actually didn't vote for you either, Michael, even though I heard you were throwing my name out.
I probably should have voted for Jonathan L. I mean, hindsight. So I was in a starting room with Stella, Justin, and Julia, and we immediately were just like, "Hey, it's really unfortunate that Joe's put up I have good vibes with you guys. Let's kind of disperse and try and push Joe. And then if something pops up and we see each other, then we'll go. But if we don't talk to each other, that's what we'll do. And then as soon as I came into a second room 2, I think, Megan, you were in the second room I popped into. And I said, like, hey to people, that's when I got the nomination. And they were like, oh, what are you going to do? And I was so...
And then we were immediately out of room limit.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to talk to you about it.
I ended up talking to Joe right before he decided on you, and he had already had it in his mind to put you up. He was just gathering votes, but he had already decided to put you up.
Because I had a lot of board games. For the record, I'd like to point out I have like Mall Madness and like Clue as my board games. I'm not playing like Settlers of Catan over here. All right. So once I kind of found out Joe was gunning for me, I just figured that was my best bet. Props to Joe. He played a lot of really great LOS moves last night. I was bitterly...
His internet? Very good.
Yeah. He's got like fiber or something. And I
thought I had fast internet, and I probably wasn't even close.
I mean, I saw that LOS go on the screen like as it was being dragged, and I typed LOS and I didn't get it. So
I had it typed out and ready.
Yeah, I had it ready.
I clicked it when it went up, and I was like, no way, I didn't get that. I digress. I think that Joe had a great play in that game, and shit happens. That's what makes Sequester so fun, and I had a good time regardless.
Yeah. And I think you definitely have the potential to like play well if you play again. Like you just didn't have a chance there. Like you even got the votes on Joe. So like
you didn't even have the most votes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you were just unlucky that he happened to get the LOS.
Yeah, I feel like that's the, like looking at this round now and how you play it. Like if the wheel does land on you, I mean, obviously you want to make sure it's not you, but you know you're going to have a long amount of time to look for that LOS and basically park there and try to get it. Because honestly, those first 2-3 people are definitely the ones who are going to be most at risk for the vote. Like it's going to be very rare, I imagine, that the last person to get nominated is going to go out because there's just going to be no time to discuss them. So you really just have to manage to avoid being one of the first ones put up, which if you are, you really have to hope for an LOS. I feel like in your case, Michael, it was really just unlucky.
Right.
I was with Joel in starting room, and he said Michael, and we all just agreed. But I wrote down stars on Michael's name because he plays board games, and I like board games. So I wanted to work with Michael, and when Jonathan A's name came up, I tried to push that a little, but it just got no traction at all. So I had to vote Michael to keep my starting room safe. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah.
No worries. Hey, Allison.
Okay.
The big irony is I circled Joe as a big person I want to work with because he's like, I love yoga, I love meditation. I'm actually a yoga instructor here in Brooklyn. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
And so it was unfortunate to get that kind of zing right off the bat. But, that's kind of one of the things about Sequester.
I kept trying to push the narrative of don't vote out Joe because Wheel hates him. And that's not fair. Obviously, that did not work.
Yeah, I feel like board games now goes along the list of things not to say in your pregame intro, don't you? Along with poker, anything like that, any sort of strategy. Game theory, all out the window. Michael, it was a shame. We were rooting for you, especially with the Angelica connection. She had been talking to me about you for a while, how you were trying to get on for how long was it? How many times did you send it in?
I think I started applying mid-May. But it was all good fun. I introduced Angelica to Big Brother like 6 years ago, and kind of put that reality TV bug into her. And so I feel like this is coming full circle with her putting me into Sequester. So it was a great time. And thanks for having me here as well, Louie.
Of course. I feel like this isn't the end. You're going to try again, right? Are you going to play something else? Maybe,
yeah. I've had an opportunity. I will get back. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Be good, guys. Take care.
Take care, Michael.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that brought us into round 2, which was an early majority rules, and this was what is Sequester Bot's favorite music? And this one was spread. Usually you see a lot of times it's just 2 just going around, but there were quite a few different options aside from country, which we established Sequester Bot does not like country music. But aside from that, it was pretty spread out. How did you all think about going about this round, and how did we land on? I think we landed on electronic, right? What was
techno.
Techno, yeah. So how did we land on that?
So my starting room said techno.
I'd like to know.
My starting room that I was in when the round started said techno, and I was like, okay, so we were all in there. And we're like, okay, this is a good group. Let's go for techno. But then as I didn't hear it again as I kept moving around, so I thought it had changed. So that's why I put rock, because I was hearing more rock near the end.
The room I ended up in right before, maybe 30 seconds before the end of the round said techno, and the 6 of us were like, the 6 of us need to say techno or else rock's gonna win, because rock was the other one. So last second, I went from rock to techno.
Yeah, I feel like in that round, you really should just straight away go to as many rooms as possible to get information. I played that completely wrong, like horribly. We had 6 people in the room, and we said, okay, we're gonna say K-pop, I think, and we're just like, okay, this is what we're gonna say, and then we're gonna spread rock. But then we didn't recruit enough people into the K-pop thing, and a lot of people left. And I don't think I left the room the whole time. I was in the same room the whole time, and it was such a short round before we had to.
Yeah,
really
it was really short.
But yeah, so that's how I got on the block.
Who said techno first? But we spent a lot of time, I think, discussing twist and not what music. So I just said we all need to push techno, and then I think we had 1 or 2 people go to other rooms, and everyone else spread fake music.
Yeah,
I mean, I was in a room and they said, I can't remember what it was, and then Eddie came into a room and he said, people doing pop, and I
heard the fake one.
Someone
Pop
had just told me, that pop was fake, and Eddie said pop. I was like, so that's why I voted techno. I was like, all right, Eddie.
Hey,
Brian.
So once that was decided on, the people who were safe were Stella, Justin, Jonathan A, Ashley, Brian, Abby, Eddie, Walt, and Joe. And it resulted in Jonathan L's elimination. And this was basically one of the only times until your elimination, Sindri, that your name came up. And it was clear early on. I was like, all right, Sindri's one to watch. He knows what he's doing. And then your name randomly came up this round. And I was like, oh, maybe this isn't going to be as long-term as it was. But you managed to kind of evade that, and it ended up being Jonathan L.
The second Jonathan L was available, I had to vote him out. I knew I was going to be up. It was going to be me or him soon. So I was like, I have to take this chance.
Yeah. For me, I guessed that my name would maybe come up in that round, but I feel like because the round before was so long, we had a lot of time to create connections. So I straight away felt really good about other people in other rooms protecting me, but I feel like I didn't move around enough because I think, again, I was in maybe 2 rooms that round and only said Jonathan L and tried to push that, but didn't go to enough rooms to try to push it. So I was really scared when I heard last minute, oh, Sindri, your name is up there. I felt like, oh, I haven't spread the other name enough. My name might just be the default.
Yeah, Sindri, yours was the only name I heard that round. I didn't hear any Jonathan L. Maybe that's because I wasn't in enough rooms, but I was surprised at Jonathan L because I hadn't heard that at all.
Yeah, I'd like to see the chart. I have no idea. I was convinced I was going because I didn't feel like I spread the other name enough. But I feel because I had it's not a lot of people like the room alliance thing, but we really had a great time in that hour before our room. So we had a good connection, and we really I felt like we really connected. So I trusted all my room 5 people, and they were none of them were in the room with me. So I trusted that if my name came out, Allison wouldn't say it, Brian wouldn't say it, and Ashley wouldn't say it. So I think that's how I didn't go.
At the beginning of round, Stella said that you had said her name, and so she was pushing you. And then I left that room and came into room with you, and then round ended. Very
yeah,
short.
you came in the room last minute and said, Stella saying your name, Sindri.
I did.
Us 6 vote Stella? And I almost said yes, but I was like, there's no way 6 votes going to be enough for Stella there, especially if some people are voting Jonathan L and some me. The people in that room would be then splitting with, Jonathan L, but not splitting with me. So, but after that, I was going after Stella.
So after that, like I said, the round, it's funny because there's not a ton to discuss in some of these rounds because they were so quick. Like this round, there was no way this round was more than 90 seconds. Like
I was shocked when it was over because I heard Eddie say the name and I was like, oh, now I gotta go and find Stella and confront her about this. But like the round ended just right then. It was
I don't even think I left my room that I started.
I didn't leave my room. Yeah. I was just lucky that I think a couple of people that were my allies did leave the room, and I think that helped get Jonathan L out.
Absolutely. So that brought us to round 3, which was safety roulette. And this was also a drag round. So this ended up being room 2 nominated Julia, Maddie, Megan, Eddie, and Ashley. And it ended in Megan's elimination, sadly, and dragging Justin. So let's discuss a little bit about that in terms of how we decide. I feel like you guys did well with the rooms. There was no one like standing alone. Everybody had a pretty solid number of people in the room. But how did we decide upon that, and how did we get to the vote?
We were in that room for so long.
Yeah, we just Julia was in there first. I had been in room like 1, and then I popped into a different room, and it was room 2, and it was Julia and me, and we're like, well, let's just sit here and see if people come because it was pretty early in the round. And then Ashley showed up, Eddie showed up, and Maddie showed up. And so Eddie was like telling us, he's like, guys, don't worry, room 2 never loses safety roulette. Statistically,
it's true though. It is a fact. It's rare.
It's funny to say that Renzo in my game too on Thursday said the same thing about room 3, and then we ended up getting put up. And I went home this round on Thursday. That's funny you said that room 2 because he was like room 3 never gets put up. So I stayed.
I feel like Audrey may have changed the way it's done because people started to figure it out, because it usually was always 5 or 1 that was going up, and I feel like people started to lock onto it. So maybe it's changed now, and we can't rely on it anymore.
So after we figured out that we were up, we all just kind of sat there and looked at each other because no one wanted to be the first one to leave. Like we literally sat there for probably a good 1.5 to 2 minutes just saying how much this sucked because no one wanted to be the first one to leave. And then eventually Ashley left. And then I remember Eddie immediately going, so we're all voting her, right? And
I did say that.
Yeah. And just because we all didn't want to be the first one to leave. I had no clue my name was even out there until I switched rooms and realized that it was out there. So I had no clue. I thought it was, I didn't think anyone would vote Eddie just because I figured the audience would love the puppet. So I didn't, audience members save for Angelica and Lance, of course. But so that was sort of, I thought. I just went into a room and I was like, don't vote for me. And I didn't really have any clue that I was going at that time. So
because it was drag round, it made it more complicated. And I was very worried that lots of people throw votes on me and I go home. So I kept going and telling people, don't throw votes on me, please.
I threw mine on Julia.
That's why Ashley just said in the chat that she said she thought someone else had left the room first and not her. So
Emma wrote Julia in the
Emma did do that
in the StreamYard chat, and I was going to use that next round, but then
I was going to use that too.
But then I think Julia went out the next round or something.
Yeah, so we couldn't use it.
So I couldn't really use it, but for that round, I really just thought because Ashley was up and I knew I had trust with Ashley, so I straight away wanted to throw out a name. So I threw out Megan's name straight away because I hadn't seen her basically at all. But also because I wanted to get a name out there that I knew I could vote and not like be personally dragged, but also that like if your name is out there, you might also not be the actual end like person that actually goes home. So either way, I thought it would be good if I voted for you, that either you wouldn't go, or that if I was on the list of people that voted you out, I did not think like Ashley would maybe have like dragged me if I would have thrown on her and she went out because she trusted me.
Were you guys at a starting room together, you and Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something that I said early on. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I played that round so badly because I think I was in the room with Sindri, Miles, I think, Brian, and they said Megan's name, and I was just like, okay. And then I ran to try and find Megan. I was not fast enough.
Yeah, well, because the round.
And then I think I said I'm gonna vote Ashley, and then Ashley came into the room, and then the round muted.
Yeah.
I was like, great.
Yeah, well, Abby and I had ended up being like two people in room one the round previous, and I had seen Abby on PodQuest or commentary before, so I was like, okay, like I want to work with you. We made our Megan Thee Stallion alliance, and I was like, okay, really excited to work together, and then it never came to fruition.
Yeah,
but
I really think I played that terribly. Like I should have told them, no, I'm not gonna vote Megan. Fuck y'all. But instead I was just like, yeah.
Hey, it's the sentiment that counts.
But I did vote Ashley. Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah.
Something that I was worried about as well as stray votes was being dragged. I did not want one of the four ladies to drag the non-lady, me. So as soon as we were all in danger, I said, let's not drag anybody from this room because we all have to vote for somebody in this room. So, and that did not happen. Megan did not drag Ashley, which I liked.
We had all made a deal in that room, to not do that. So, and plus at this point, I mean, do we want to talk about the drag yet, or Louie?
Yeah, we could. Let's get into it. So the people who voted for Megan were Allison, Brian, Joe, Ashley, Sindri, Justin, and Miles.
Yeah. So when Audrey told me, I immediately knew I wasn't gonna drag Ashley because we had made that deal, and I, thought she fought hard. I had spent a lot of time in the early rounds with Joe, and so I didn't want to drag Joe. And Miles as well, I had been in a room with for a little bit, so I felt like I knew him. I almost dragged Sindri, and then I was like, I don't really want to do that. He's playing all the way from Iceland. Like, let's give it international representation. So then it was really, and Brian also I had been in a room with previously, so I was, I didn't want to drag him. And so it really came down to Allison and Justin because I really hadn't spoke to them that much or been in really a room with them. And it really came down to that. I didn't want to drag another girl. So that's why I chose Justin, ultimately.
I really thought it was between me and Justin in the end there. We were in the same room and I was like, it's either me or Justin 100%.
Yeah, no offense. I was glad you dragged Justin because him and Sindri were the ones that said your name first. So I was like, okay, at least she got who got her. Like,
well, and at the very end of the round, Justin had came in and told me, like right before, a few seconds before the round ended, like, hey Megan, like your name's out there. And then he like immediately like left the room, and I was like, oh no, like what's that about? And so I did think about keeping him safe because he told me, but then I was like, I really don't want to drag another girl. So I dragged Justin, and apparently it was a big drag. I watched PodQuester and people were pretty shook. I guess he was coming really hard for Joe. And so Justin probably would have either him and Joe would have probably definitely gone after each other the last couple rounds, or the next couple rounds, which is what I think.
It was interesting too, because Audrey put in, I mean, I guess it's a new rule or making it official that you have to drag someone who voted for you now, which was not the way before. I mean, most people do, obviously. It's very rare that you see someone drag someone who didn't vote for them, but it can happen. And I feel like it does change the game a little bit when you know 100% you are safe if you don't vote for the person who gets voted out.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I was surprised at that because when that clarification was made, I was like, oh, like I have to pick one of these people because all the previous games have been you can drag anyone. And even at the final 11, it was you have to vote for someone. You had to drag someone who voted for you. And I didn't see that coming. I also didn't expect to drag around so early either. But it is what it is. I had so much fun playing. I had decided I was going to play on this was my first time applying. I applied Wednesday. I shot my video literally. I was about to do a court hearing virtually, and I shot it like 15 minutes before I had to be in my hearing, and shot my video and sent it away. And then Thursday afternoon, I got the email. So I was really excited to play. So I had a really great time.
We were excited to see you, and I said it last night. I mean, I had no idea when you were playing you were who you were. I feel like we basically talk every night in like the Podquester chat. I didn't, but you don't connect that when someone's like on the screen. You don't know it's that person. It wasn't until you got back that I was like, oh, it was you. I should have been rooting a lot harder for you during the game. But yeah, it was great to see you. I mean, are you planning on playing it again now that you've done it once? Are you going to stick with it?
Yeah, I definitely want to play again. I'm open to private. I've applied for one of the private minis that's floating out there, and hopefully we'll play again. So yes, I definitely want to play again. Would be really excited to do that. This didn't scare me away. Wonderful.
Absolutely. And I'm sure now you won't just be in the chat. You can actually come on and chat with us.
Exactly. Anytime.
All right. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right. So that brought us to round 4, which was the highest even number vote round. And this was the round that ended in Julia's elimination. Couple of things stood out to me. One of the most interesting ones was in room 3, and I forget exactly who was in room 3 that round, but they basically just kind of parked it there, had their vote set, and just kind of chatted, which is something you don't see a lot in Sequester, just to stop and chat. But there was a nice little stop and chat talking about music and all of that, and just kind of removed from the game, which was fun to see. Emma is here, by the way. Hi, Emma. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, so how did we get to the Julia elimination, and how did that round kind of progress?
Room 3 was me, Noah, Stella, Miles, Allison, and Brian. At the end, I think Sindri was there, maybe at the beginning.
No, I was in room 5 in the beginning, I think.
Somebody said Julia, and then everybody else was just talking, and nobody really latched onto a name. And I thought that somebody else was surely going to come in, and we were going to have no name. So I just said, let's do Julia, lock on 6, nobody else say that name, and that's what we did. I tried to figure out fake name, and somebody said, let's just stay here. So that's what we did.
We can't hear you, Brian.
Brian's having tech issues.
You're muted, I think. There we go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, now I hear you.
Okay, so this was the round I got voted out in the Latinx mini. So I was having like PTSD low-key. So I was just like, there was 6 people in the room, so I was like, let's just park this in. No one leave the room. Like, we may not have a name, but the likelihood of any of us coming up, let's just like do 6 right now. And I don't know who threw it out. I don't know who threw out Julia. I feel like I did, but I'm not sure.
And Walt is in. Hello, Walt. Welcome.
Hey, Walt.
Podquester. Another day.
Walt. It's weird to be on this side of the screen.
I know. Walt, one of our favorite mods. I guess this is your first time actually being on, which is fun.
Yes.
Hey, Walt. Nice to meet you.
Yes, I know, Emma. It's the first time that we've actually been in technically the same room together.
Yeah.
Which ended up being, pit us against each other.
Yeah, it really did. That's all right.
Though, to be fair, I did vote for you in round 2, so it's like, but I didn't know who to vote for in that round, so.
Oh, okay.
I was stuck in room 1 that entire round, and then it ended up being just like, somebody said your name, and I was like, okay. And then from there, I just ended up being, till I could talk to you, I just ended up being laser focused on it, which.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, we had an interesting room. It was me, John A, Maddie, and Emma. We were together 4. So I thought 4 would be enough for that round. So we really just tried to lock it on, and I threw out Stella's name straight away for that. And we didn't really spread it that much because we thought 4 would be enough, but we didn't know that there would be a 6 room that would actually successfully vote 6 on someone. That's rare. So that was a great move.
I was in room
Absolutely.
3, and I just think it was actually one of the highlights of the whole game because we kept waiting for somebody to knock us out. We literally were like, oh, we're such a chill room. Like, we have this on lock, and like, we're waiting to spread something else. But it wasn't until the very end anyone interrupted us. So there was at no point where like, we were just so solid. I mean, it was really fun, actually.
It was good to see. I mean, it's a smart strategy. If you can lock it in and just to make sure nobody wavers and nobody gets out of there and nobody gets their mind changed over the course of the round, especially when the rounds were going as quick as they were, that really is the best move, is to just stick there and stick with your vote.
I had heard my name was possibly floated this round,
Yeah,
but I don't know if that actually happened.
This is the even numbered round, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yes.
our room. It was very messy.
Ooh.
It was very, very messy though. We started with 4, and then one person came in, so we ended up having 5, and then room limit, and then it ended up with 6. But we didn't know who the people were coming in, whether they were voting. So I ended up staying in a room the entire time, which was, in my opinion, a terrible strategy. But because I had no idea what was going on, I even messaged when I put my vote in for Eddie. I actually did send a second message, Shadre, saying I played this round like garbage because it was truly just a comedy of errors. I didn't know who to target, and your name had been floated out earlier, and so it was just we ended up just landing on it.
Well, you knew how disappointed I would be by that.
It ended up being the next round that he ended up going, but I didn't. I mean, we'll talk about that. But for that round, I knew Eddie wasn't going there because we were our room was so messy. There wasn't any coordination whatsoever because people were just filing in and out, and there was just no lockdown ever. So
yeah.
Ironically, Stella was in 6 that voted Julia. And I circled all 6 people's names and wrote loyal because they all locked with the original 6 votes, and nobody wavered. Which last time I appeared in Broadway Mini, 8 people was not good number, and only 4 people stuck. So I wrote loyal, and that did not play in my favor next round.
Well, let's get into that tragic round. It was the beginning of Now or Later, but there was a twist on this one, which was very interesting. And it took me, Sindri, I was very impressed how quickly you got a grasp of this. But I mean, half the time I'm talking, so I didn't really even hear. I was like, oh, Now or Later. And then there was a whole nother twist to it, is that if you vote for the person who goes home, you are nominated the next round. And your idea was that it was smarter for everyone to go to the wheel, correct?
Yeah. My thought was straight away. I just started thinking, like, what is anyone's incentive of voting here at all? It didn't make any sense to me. I was trying to think, like, why would they make a twist that, like, it wouldn't make any sense to vote there, really. Sorry, Allison. So, like, I wanted to spread that as well because, like, I still didn't want to be, like, voted out with 2 votes, even if those 2 people were. So I wanted to let everyone know, like, it's good for everyone not to vote. So I wouldn't be like that one for, like, everybody should know, like, if you vote, you'll be one of, like, a couple of people next round, maybe the only vote, which means you're automatically out. So it's better odds to just go one out of 17 on the wheel and hope for the best.
I thought the same thing, Sindri, and that's why I was so surprised. I went into a room with Emma, Tosh, and Miles, who were my starting roommates, and they apparently they came up with a plan to lie to me, and came up with a plan to tell me that Maddie was gonna come after me, and I went to spread that afterwards. And then I confronted Maddie, and she was like, "That never happened." And Yeah.
Well, that was my plan was to pit people against each other so that you would vote Maddie would go,
Yeah.
and you would go.
And that's why I ended up
way
not
after.
voting for Maddie.
And
I was like, even if I'm the only vote for Maddie and I'm the only person that votes, I'm just gonna go anyway. So I have to hope that if they're telling the truth, Maddie's just lying, wanting like something to happen where people vote for me, or you guys were lying, and then nobody would vote anyways.
Really, Allison and I forget who the other person were wouldn't have voted that round, and you would have, or Maddie would have gone, and then you would have gone right after. But 2 other people randomly voted.
Yeah.
And then that came back to bite me after.
It just didn't make sense. Like I thought about it. I was flustered for a bit, but then towards the end of the round, I was like, it makes no sense for me to vote. If I'm going with Maddie's vote, I'm going anyways the next round. So I'm gonna take.
So you didn't vote that round?
I didn't vote.
Oh.
They thought I voted because I got put up, but then I told the mod that I actually voted Eddie the round before. I was an Eddie vote the round before, but they thought it was that round. Like the mod thought it was that round.
I originally tried to take other approach and tried to convince everybody to vote so that everybody would be up for elimination, but everybody listened to Sindri, which was fine. His statistics were correct. I just wish everybody had voted, not me then.
How do you think that this is going to play? Do you think this is going to come back? Because I think, honestly, I'm with Sindri on this. I don't think voting here is a smart strategy in any way, because
I really want to hear the strategy of the 2 people that voted for Eddie.
Stella,
I remember
Allison
said
my name, right?
Yeah.
Allison, did Stella say my name?
I've been waiting for this one. Okay, so I thought. Can you hear me? By the way.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, when I got voted out and I went on Twitter and I saw somebody said this was the dumbest move in sequester history, I laughed so hard. Oh my god, was I just so stupid. So in my head, I thought a lot of people were gonna vote. I'm very, very new to the sequester community in general, haven't seen a lot, so I didn't actually even know this was like a new twist. And so I just thought that a bunch of rooms were going to have at least one person vote. So when I was in the room, I said, I'll take one for the team. I'll be the voter here. And I promise, if you guys have my back next round, I will vote for whoever you want me to vote for. And then after we locked somebody down, we were going to like spread that. But then somebody came into the room and they said, a bunch of people are voting for Maddie. A bunch of people are voting for somebody else. So literally right as everything was going, Stella was like, oh, what the hell? I'll vote with you. And I was like, okay, great. Then let's not vote for any of the names we heard. Let's do somebody random. And I was like, Stella, who do you want? Who do you want? And then she was like, Eddie. And I was like, I had to mute at that point. So it literally was so random and not targeted at all. I shouldn't have voted. It was super dumb. Own it. And then I feel so bad for Stella too. I mean, for both of you, it was just so stupid. And just like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
Stella apparently thought that I was pushing her name hardcore, which I never did. The only time I said Stella's name was to Sindri. So I don't know
I hadn't even gotten back to her with that. Like I was thinking about like confronting her with it, but I hadn't even done it yet. So she didn't even know.
So I don't know where she got that.
I think it was random, honestly, because we had literally a split second right at the end where I said, okay, if you're voting for me, I'll do whatever you want. Just tell me a name. And then that's literally, it was so quick. And I don't think it was
YouTube chat said
strategic.
Stella, after Stella was eliminated, she said that I was after her from beginning.
Oh.
So I don't know where she got that.
Maybe she got it from like the chat. Because you told me,
like after,
and the thing was like you weren't going hardcore after her, but I was going hardcore after her after you told me. So
I was trying not to go hardcore after anyone.
Yeah.
I did not want to be seen as pushy puppet. But after I pushed Julia's name and I pushed Techno, I was worried. So I was not wanting to push anything for a few rounds. I wanted to lay low, and that bit me in puppet ass.
I feel like Eddie, you played hard. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect coming in. I was like, are you just gonna try to be like fun and get people to like you in the first few rounds? But like you played the game immediately. I feel like you started playing faster than anyone else, which I was, impressed to see.
Thank you, Louie. It means a lot coming from you.
Good. I mean, it obviously also the other thing, I don't know if anybody saw this, but in between rounds before Eddie's elimination, we had another guest and a llama showed up. Did any of you see the llama afterwards? Did you get word that there was a llama? There was a llama, another puppet joining the fray that we were all very excited to see. And then before the llama could really make an impact, Eddie was out there.
I just saw it on
Pet
Twitter,
llama
and it's
Clarissa.
like, what the heck's going on? Why is everybody talking about a llama on Twitter?
So, Eddie, I must ask, I assume this isn't the end. Where does your sequester career go from here? Like, where do you see yourself in the sequester universe in these upcoming months?
I would have loved to play before and then maybe been All-Star. That would have been cool. But I hope I have paved the path for other puppets to play sequester and maybe have Puppet Mini in future.
Well, one can hope. They mentioned last night that there could be a mini of 19 puppets and me, which would make for incredible TV, I imagine.
Can I be there, please?
Absolutely.
I was going to say,
Abby, you're in 18 puppets, me
Just
and Abby.
laughing entire time.
We'll see how it goes. But I am very excited to see where you go from here, Eddie. And it was a joy to watch you last night. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Puppet representation matters. Bye.
All right. So that brought us to round 6. And we just had Stella and Allison nominated. And Stella actually ended up going here. So what were all of your thoughts? There were really only 2 options. How did you all end up voting, and what were you thinking on this vote?
Allison.
Stella was literally the only name I heard. So
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like 13 or 12 to 1 or whatever. So I voted for Stella.
Yeah, it was really easy.
It was kind of easy for us. I think for like room 5 because like none of us are gonna vote Allison.
We'll get to that, but I mean, for this particular round, because I ended up on the split one, I do end up voting Allison, and I hate that. But in this particular round, I was in the room when Allison said that she was going to vote and that she wanted us to have her back. So I pushed, as soon as that next round came up and I saw that was 2 names, I pushed hard for Stella there for the room 5, but also because I promised her that we would defend her, and that's exactly what I did. Even though I didn't move a whole lot that round, I made sure that the people who came into the room were on board for 100% voting for Stella, and I felt confident everybody who did come in to talk to me did. So
it was a pretty like obvious vote for me when it's one like close ally and my basically only enemy in the game. She was the only one pushing my name at all, so at least that I knew of. So for me, I was just straight away, okay, now it's time to go for the kill and really just throw Stella's name into every room that I go into.
Yeah, I imagine this was probably a pretty lopsided vote. I mean, we don't have the vote count, but I imagine it was pretty strong on the Stella side. After that, it brought us to round 7. It seems like the new trend now is combining twists, is like we take a couple of them and put them together. This was that anyone who gets a vote is nominated the next round, plus Echo Chamber, which we have not seen in a while. And I feel like a lot of you guys had never seen it, period, because so many people were confused as to what was going on. This was the round that resulted in Emma's elimination. But how had any of you seen Echo Chamber before? Were you just confused about kind of what it was?
I'd seen it, and for some reason I forgot it. Like when the walls have ears was mentioned, so I started talking and everything, and people kept trying to get me to like not talk, and I kept talking, and I heard that in other rooms my voice kept getting played in, so that was pretty funny.
It was the same voice for every room, right? We all heard the same things.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I was so confused by all of this. I had no idea what was going on, and for like several minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that round was tough for Sindri because his voice is so distinct, and he was the only one talking. So the only voice that I heard, I think,
Like,
the whole
and
like.
like
the
Sindri
whole
just would
Sindri
not
talking.
stop talking either. Like,
Yeah, but that was very.
Sorry, Sindri, go ahead.
That was very intentional. Like I've seen this round before, and like instead of having to go into different rooms constantly, you can go into every room at the same time and say exactly the name you want out. So it was easy for me, like straight away. I was only in the room with Allison, and she had just been saved. So we began just like, hey, this is our final two. That was the worst thing I said, because I was like, oh, now everybody knows that I'm close with Allison. But otherwise, I just wanted to throw two options out there so other rooms would start talking about those options as well. So I threw Emma and Miles out there to get those two names, because those were two of the like few people that I hadn't been with too much that were up for elimination. So that was intentional, but I didn't know that like of the 4 clips, 3 of them would be me. So it was basically just me listening to myself the whole time.
I mean, that's always the way I would want to play it. I've always waited for someone to play it like that, is that you can use it to your advantage if you're smart. I mean, maybe it's a little harder this early in the game, but later in the game, like, you can really get your word out there without it being, people hearing you without them wanting you to.
I actually thought the opposite, because there are so many people. It's harder to spread it to more people if you're like, because you have to go to more rooms, there are more people to talk to. So with this many people, I was never going to be able to spread it all the way around. So why not just get it over the speakers?
I tried to do that as well, Sindri, because of the last 2 rounds where I tried to get Maddie and Jonathan out. Like, it happened to be those 2 because that's what Joe said, but because of the plan to get those 2 out in that double round. So my thought was that these 2 are now both in and going to realize that I'm the person who set them up. So I thought, I'm going to say out loud, why is Maddie going for Jonathan, so that people hear Maddie and Jonathan. But unfortunately for me, those 2 people came to the same room that I was in and started saying, Emma, I heard you were coming for me. And then that was broadcasted over everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, there goes my game. Like, I felt like I was so hopeless.
And I think when I confronted Emma, she said something along the lines of, I promised the person who told me that Maddie was coming for you that I wouldn't say anything.
And I said to Joe, like, Joe was in the room, so was Brian, and so was Tosh, when we kind of came up with this little plan. And Joe was the one who randomly threw out Jonathan and Maddie, and we were just sticking with it. But I wasn't going to throw Joe under the bus, but I probably should have.
Yeah, just the way you said it, I was like, okay, that's really sketchy. I wanted to stick with my whole starting room, like Emma, Tosh, and Miles. But once Emma started like having that reaction, I have to get rid of Emma.
Yeah.
Oh no, Annie, you weren't there at the very
No, Jonathan
in the starting room.
Okay.
I think I get confused sometimes because I ran into them again like 3 rounds later, but you weren't there.
Yeah. So at that one point when we came up with a plan, everyone but Jonathan wasn't there, but it was Brian, Tosh, and Joe and I. But anyway, that was my downfall, I think, having everything broadcasted.
Yeah, I actually wanted, like, my target was Miles in that round. That was the first name I said. Like, I was just talking to Allison, and we were like, okay, we have to say a name. And I said Miles then, and then I went into the next room, and then I heard your name as well. So I said, okay, Emma and Miles, hoping that it would spread over the whole thing. But I was targeting Miles there.
Okay, yeah. I didn't really have a specific person in mind. I just hope people went for either Maddie or.
I was hoping you would give out a name, Emma, because I wanted to keep you, and like I had no idea who to vote for, so I was like panicking because like I needed a vote. Like, someone to vote for.
I should have been. I should have been less on the defense. The other thing was, because I was trying hard to protect Joe, I assumed he wouldn't vote for me, but he did vote for me, which really surprised me. But I assume it's because he would have been implicated, because I could have come forward and said, like, he helped come up with this plan. So it helped him to have me out of the game, I guess. But yeah, I should have said a name. I trusted you, Brian, a lot. So
yeah, I also was trying to get like other names out there, because it was the round where all the people that got votes would be eligible next round. So I was more thinking about which targets I wanted out next round. But getting names out there, but I was also not saying the name at all, which I wanted out next round, which was Noah, which I threw out in the end there because I hadn't seen him at all. Like, and when I saw him, he always jumped out of the room straight away. I was like, "Come on, I want to be your friend," but no.
I wanted to throw out a stray vote at first to get somebody else up, but then once I was sketched out by Emma, I just used my vote to get Emma out.
I threw my vote on Joe because I just wanted to keep his target going, and I felt like it had kind of like gone away a little bit, and that was kind of sketching me out a bit.
Yeah.
So,
I threw my vote on Maddie because I heard part of the Emma rumors and everything, and I was trying to protect Jonathan. So I figured that if I threw my vote on Maddie, then the next round we'd hit gun for Maddie, and that's what we wound up doing, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
I also discovered that I can't make an E with my
That was so terrible.
It was a really good attempt, but it was very.
Can you do it again, please?
I was like,
It's not terrible.
For some reason, I thought
like,
that was
which
an
way
M
is it again?
first. I took it as
I
an
was
M
going
at
like-
first. I was like, Miles? And I was like, oh, it's
That's so smart. I was doing your name too, Will. I love that. It was
Yeah,
really sad because I
heard-
really
I heard
wanted to
that.
work with you. And I was like, I guess I have to go for
I
Walt because this is the easiest letter to make.
Oh, is that how it worked? Okay. We never
I
went in a
know.
room together, so it's just like no
No
personal
option. Yeah.
implications at all. So it's like,
At
you
one
know,
point, I was
and
like, he
that's
might have been
that's
kicked out of the game. Like, what happened to Walt? I haven't seen him. Anyway,
I don't know what are the odds?
Yeah.
6 rounds
Yeah.
that we never ended up in a single room together. I don't know what the odds of that are.
anyway, that was the end for me. So I guess I'll pop off now. But it was lovely to see everyone.
Emma, I was asking last night, and I didn't know for sure. Are you playing 58619 or no?
No, I'm not going to.
No. Okay, gotcha. Well, we hope to see you again because it's been a long gap in between. So, are you planning on doing it again at some point?
Yeah, I'm signed up for a private one coming up soon enough. Yeah. So, but this was kind of a last minute application, and I'm really really lucky to have gotten into it.
Absolutely.
I understand people apply for a long time, so I think luckily being a girl, like it's a bit easier to get on. So, yeah.
Well, we were glad to see you. I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that's my Twitter there.
Yeah, follow the Twitter.
It's an Austin Powers name. Like that's from Austin Powers. If people don't recognize it.
I did not. Now I know.
Okay. See ya.
Bye. All right. So that brought us to round 8. So the nominees were Maddie, Noah, Annie, Walt, Miles, and Joe. And this was the round that Maddie went home. Bit of Miles traction, but for the most part, Maddie. What do we remember about this round in particular?
I was pushing Maddie's name out there a lot because I still was believing that she was going after Jonathan, who I was trying to protect. So I voted for her and I had voted for her in the last round. So with my name being out, I knew I was going to have to put someone else out strong. So that's who I went after.
And that's funny because I voted for Maddie because I believed Maddie in the Maddie versus like Emma / Miles / Tosh story that happened. So I actually wanted to work with Maddie, so I voted on Miles that round.
That's really funny. But yeah, so I just was trying to push Maddie because of that, and to take the target away from myself.
I was on full panic mode because at first I was very calm, and then I ended up in a room, I think room 1, and somebody came in and said, and I think it was Maddie who came in and said they heard my name. And so I'm like, I better start scrambling a little bit here. And I walk into the next room and people say, oh yeah, we're not hearing your name. And I stupidly said, but I have. And it's like, oh great. Afterwards I'm thinking to myself, oh great, I just painted my target. painted a target on myself because that means he's getting votes. So they might vote for me at that point. And I wasn't thinking critically at that time. And so I had heard more Miles at that point. And so I voted Miles just in a situation of self-preservation because I was thinking I had just fucked up. So that was all I was thinking at that point is I've heard the most of this name. I'm on the block. I've heard my name. I'm going to go for the person who had sounded like they had more votes.
Yeah, that vote was like all over the place. I didn't know who was going, but I was trying to push Noah in the beginning because that's the one I threw out to target. But it was obvious like there were some people that didn't want to do Noah, so I like tried to ease on that because I saw like okay, he has some allies and they're definitely not me. so I have to be more covert with trying to get him out. But it was like all over the place. I was trying to protect Maddie because I had written down like, okay, Maddie versus Jonathan, I want that as long as possible. And Maddie was playing like such a messy game. Like everybody like heard everything she was saying constantly. Like everybody was spreading what she was saying. So and nothing was about me. So I felt like, okay, Maddie is tanking other people's games and her own game, and mine is not included in that. So I was trying to protect Maddie as much as possible, and Jonathan as well, because I want that like friction in the game there. But I ended up voting for Noah, but I was not expecting him to go.
Yeah, I kind of wish we had touch
Miles
base there, because I had no desire for Miles to go, and even though that was what my vote was, and it's just because of self-preservation. I really wish we had touched base, because that I had a mild relationship with Noah, but he was there wasn't a whole lot of times I actually having a whole lot of conversation with him, because either the rooms were full or just rounds ended. There were just a couple of rounds where I was in a prolonged room with him, and it wasn't very much talk specifically with him, as more of just conversation as the entire room. So I didn't want Miles to go there, but I also at that point it was just I didn't want myself to go.
Yeah, that would have been definitely like a really stressful round to be up on the block, because it was so all over the place. The only reason why I was just like, okay, I'll just vote for Noah and hope for the best is because I wasn't up. So like I didn't have to be worried that it would fall back on me. But it was really just a complete mess there. But Maddie ended up going.
Yep. And so after that, we got to round 9, which was the second highest amount of votes would go. And this led, there was an LOS play, and then Abby unfortunately went home, which I don't think a lot of us saw coming. I'm still not 100% sure who played the LOS.
I played the LOS.
Okay, that's what I thought, because your name was out there the most, so I assumed it was you. And I was like super shocked I got the LOS, because I saw it as it was leaving the screen, and I was like, oh, no way am I getting this, but I'll try for it. And then I got it, so I was really excited about that. Yeah, you had to get it and use it immediately.
Yeah.
What was everyone thinking here?
I never heard Abby's name that round, so I was like stunned that Abby went home. I don't know if I was just in the wrong room, but I never heard Abby's name.
We didn't really either. I didn't hear it.
There was that was Ashley, right? You did that.
I was in the room.
Up first,
I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
I was in the room where it happened.
Ashley, Alex, and
I'm
Julianna
sorry.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't vote Abby. I actually found her after, and I was like, Abby,
Julianna, I love you.
game. And then I voted for probably Miles, I think.
The reason why we picked Abby as a alternative, because we thought we're going to try to do someone we don't think people would expect to go at this round. We were looking for people we were thinking playing really well, really strong, and would go further if and very well liked. So we said, let's try to block in 4 here and see if we can get it. And by the luck of LOS, we got that.
I didn't think I was being targeted until like towards the end of the round, when someone came in and said that they heard my name. And then I just feel like the second highest round can kind of go like iffy and kind of be a crapshoot sometimes. So I was like, okay, better I play it now than save it and get screwed over. So I played it correctly.
Yeah. I was trying to target you, Annie, that round. So we had I think 4 or 5 votes on you. I think we put 4 votes. We were scared that would be too many, but it ended up being perfect. But of course, you had an LOS.
I lied. Also, I didn't vote for Annie that round. I said
you didn't vote for Annie.
No, I voted for Julianna because I heard her name a little bit.
Yes, there's a little secret that I guess should come out now. I do know, me and Jonathan know each other. I know I'm friends with his boyfriend. So we didn't know we were playing, but when we wound up in the same starting room, I was like very excited about it. I thought I was like too excited. I thought that when other people in the room saw, they would probably realize like I recognized somebody, and I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have been excited. But yeah, so like from the beginning, we waited for in the first room, we waited for people to leave, and then we're like, okay, we're gonna try to look out for each other when we can.
Yeah, that's why Jonathan won. Like he had, I know it's been like a little like some people are calling him like a floater winner that shouldn't have won. Like I saw firsthand, like I was playing hard, but Jonathan was one of the few people that like had the wool over my eyes about thinking like I thought I had Jonathan 100%, and I did not think he had other people. Like outside of my
strategy was I tried to get people 1-on-1 or 1-on-2, like Joe. the reason Joe was shocked that I turned on him at the end, because I got Joe a couple of times by himself. And I told him, I got you to the end. I got you to the end. I think you and Ashley, I also had that conversation with. And that's why I stuck with you guys so long also. So I made sure I got people one-on-one or one-on-two to just lock those relationships in.
Yeah. But I in the end, I was like, sorry, Abby. I was pretty happy that Abby went out because she was one of the few. Like, I was really like every time you went.
Like, you guys could have really let me, like, jury. Like, gosh, that was so.
Well, it wasn't me in
rude.
the end. Like, I wasn't actually targeting you, but when I saw that you.
Who was it? Alison, Ashley, Brian. Was that the 3 votes?
Yeah.
All of you blocked, except for Ashley, because I did vote for Ashley. Brian, you especially, because I would have never voted for you.
Abby, that's part of the reason.
I wanted to work with you so badly.
Abby, I was so shocked. I wanted to work with you so bad.
Yeah, me too. But I just never got like actually in a room like that. I could have like a one-on-one or like a couple of people together. So I never was able to solidify like a thing with you. So when you went out, I was really just like, okay, that's one of the people I don't have like a really close connection with, and a person that obviously has some really good connections elsewhere, and also just a person that like every time you went in a room, like you had the room, like that was your room. So I was really scared, especially in like the end game. That's a scary prospect where like you're really able to like take control of a conversation and like, but not in an overbearing way, like in a really like good way.
I felt an immediate connection with Abby, though.
Yeah, me too. That's why I was scared.
I felt like we didn't talk at all in the first couple rounds, and apparently she was saying my name. But once we got to the mid pre-jury, and I got that time with her, I immediately said, okay, I have my Room 5 alliance, and then I also have Abby and Annie, I felt like. And so I wanted that to be my end game. And then when Abby was taken out here, I was devastated. I mean, at that point, I felt like, okay, I don't even know if I have Annie. It's really just Room 5 at this point. But I still felt good with Annie because I did feel like I had other, had connections with her there. But when Abby went out here, it was. And Abby left. This was a devastating round for me because I thought I had control of this round because at the beginning I was the one that pushed Miles to say his name. That in that way, I wanted Miles to feel comfortable but I also wanted him to, I wanted him to feel comfortable by getting votes here, and that he could be the guy who would end up being the most votes person. I wanted Miles to stay here as well, but I also didn't want to have my name floating out there. So if Miles' name is out there, then I don't have to that's one less thing I have to worry about. And then I could feel kind of comfortable for the rest of this round. But then at the end of the round, when I was feeling all good, and then I hear, LOS and then Abby gone, it's like, okay, I'm broken.
It's kind of funny that was like your move to put the votes on him too, because that was when it came in the later round when it comes down to you two. That was kind of why I chose Miles. I was like, okay, I helped save him in that round. So and it was your plan to begin with to save him. So.
Yeah, one of the reasons. One of the reasons I pushed for Abby is because you said my name in that second round, and I remembered that was only the inkling. I'm like, I didn't react when I heard it, so I was
like, Alison. Anyways, like I understand why Ashley you jumped on that. That was so smart for you to do because I was gonna continuously keep voting for you. But
I figured I was like,
anyways. Yeah, that was a good move. Well done. But you could have let me get to jury.
You were almost there.
I know, I was so close. Oh well.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're so awesome. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because you're.
It's
so
the most
awesome.
fluky way to go out. Like go out after an LOS play on a second vote thing. Like you had the third most votes in so it was really. It was really just a great I was trying to snipe Annie, but she went was able to evade it, and then they sniped you right at the end. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. I literally never heard Annie's name, so that's so surprising to me.
I'm sorry. I wish there wasn't the closet.
Oh no, you did that shit.
I know, of course. I wanted to work with you. So I was really sad that my LOS saved me, and it was at your.
I know, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it was great to see you, Abby. I mean, I feel like a lot of us have been waiting for you to play. Like I felt like we knew you were going to play eventually, and then to see it happen, it was cool to see you pop up on the screens. Are you going to? You're in a private mini, right? Aren't you doing?
Yeah. I forgot when it is.
It's the slumber. Is it the slumber party one?
Yeah. Wait, let me check when the date is. I need to plug it, or Angelica will drag me.
I'm gonna be your number one fan, Abby. Just wait.
Please,
Yes.
hopefully I'll make jury this time.
You will.
Sorry, oh my god, I'm so bad at this.
Yeah, I feel like the sequester community will definitely be better off with you, in it full time. You're already kind of in it. You've been on Podquester and such, but now you're actually in it.
Stop it!
I'm so happy to have you in the cast. I was just also so sad that we could never actually.
I know, and
solidify
Sindri,
anything.
I've been to Iceland on an expedition for 3
Hey.
weeks. When your shit popped up, I pressed start. I was like, Sindri, but I could never fucking find you.
Yeah,
It was just a mess.
I had you as one of the people I wanted to work with. I just never got you.
I can't
Next
remember when
time.
Slumber is. Sorry,
That's
it's
all right.
it's
Well,
sometime in
it'll be
August.
it'll be advertised on our.
Catch
on
me
our
there. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having
Thank
me on.
Thank you for coming on.
See you later.
Thank you.
Follow me. Thanks.
Yes.
All right, so that brought us to the next round 10. And this was Room Wars, but it was different Room Wars because this time you weren't voting for your own room, you were voting for the other room. It seemed like there were pretty much 2 names out there. Joe's name was out there a bit. Annie's name was out there a bit. Allison's name was out there a bit. But it ended up being Allison. Someone in the room flipped. So that's what we're going to have to figure out today because I still don't think we know for sure. So let's discuss how this happened and who it was. Okay,
God
what was
damn it.
the thinking there?
I was so happy when the round twist came up because Annie and I were in different rooms, and I figured Annie wouldn't let my name get said in that room. And then my room locked on Annie, and I was like, if I vote for Annie and it's a 6-6 tie, we're going to a wheel because you can't break that in a revote. You can't break that. So we're going to a wheel. But if I don't vote and I just throw my vote
we
to
wouldn't have
somebody-
gone to a wheel. We would not.
would've
What would have happened?
I don't think so.
No. It would have gone to a wheel, right, Louie? Because we couldn't not vote for
No,
somebody in the
I
other
had an
room.
away. I was going to use it.
No, you can't use
What?
it in a
You
revote.
can't use it on a revote.
Yeah, in a revote, you cannot use
We
the
were going. If I voted for Annie, we were going to a 6-6 tie and a 6-6 revote.
Yeah, so we were actually
Revote, I would've
discussing that,
switched.
like what the best
No, you
way to
can't
do
switch.
that round. It probably would be better on Audrey's part is to have it just be one round and let everybody know ahead of time that there's no revote. And if it is a 6-6 tie, it goes directly to the wheel.
You can't switch on a revote
Yeah.
because you have to vote for somebody in the other room. So you're
Right.
locked.
But you can't
on-
switch to someone in. Yeah, of course you have to vote. Yeah, it's interesting. Some people in our room were speculating if you could possibly in the revote vote for anybody.
You can't.
No, but I would have.
No, I mean
Yeah,
that
that's
was
what I was
what
thinking.
people were
The other room.
speculating about.
No, but once there's a tie, you have to vote for one of those 2 people. But then you're blocked from voting for somebody in your room.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Tie and then a 6-6 revote. It's
I misplayed that.
a deal.
Yeah.
So my thinking was somebody's gonna have to not vote, and I mean I didn't want Annie out, so I had to not vote. I threw
Jonathan,
my vote away at
my
Miles.
heart.
And in
Yeah.
our room, we just felt like you were such a big social, we all loved you and we were all like, oh, this hurts. But I feel like Allison is the biggest social threat like in the game and everything right now. And this is going to be our shot to get her.
The second
Yeah.
you guys locked on Annie, I
Well,
was like, wait,
honestly,
do I say no Annie? But
I
then
really
I was
didn't
like,
want to vote for Annie either because I really liked her. So that really
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
about to
But
just
I
throw
didn't
it
know
away.
it was me, obviously.
I was about to
I
say
didn't know it was me either. I didn't know
I was-
until jury phase.
I was
It's a
about to-
situation where you just have to go with. If it's not you, you don't know what's going on in the other room. So I mean, if you're going to lock down,
I was about to
I was
vote-
self-preservation.
I was about to just throw it away from Annie and say somebody else, but then I thought if I do throw somebody else and everybody agrees, then we're going to a wheel.
Yeah.
So the better move for me was just to not vote.
Played that
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
This
this
was
just
the
yet
most
again shows like
Fun.
Jonathan was the whole time just my downfall in the game there. This is where like I think before this round, like my stock was at the highest it had been, and this is where it's like starts to plummet down.
Well,
Because
that's
there,
what
like I
was
had
the
no
first of room 5 to go. And,
yeah.
and it was Domino.
It was the
from
most
there.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, what this is like final 12 here, and we
Yeah.
had 5 people still like locked, and Julianna was with us as well. We had 6 of those 12. No, yeah, 6 of those 12 like people were on our side.
Room 4 and 5 killed it. I think we had
Yeah.
4 in the final 6.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
And we kind of were able to recruit Julianna into that. So we were like, we had a good group there. Our problem was there, like I had no idea about your relationship with Annie and no idea about your room.
Yeah.
I didn't know your room was all there still. And of course you didn't know mine was as well. But the problem was I did not know you had a connection with Annie, so I straight away threw out Annie because I had been targeting her already. I knew I wouldn't be able to vote her in like a you can't vote previously.
It was hard to keep up the lie too, because I had to keep saying, "Oh, I voted for her twice already." I had to keep.
Yeah, it was really difficult to like same in the earlier rounds when I was trying to like save Jonathan without having to put myself out too much, because like when I played in the all women's, I felt like that was kind of my downfall, was trying to save like my allies too much a little bit. So I felt like I didn't want to make that same mistake again. But at the same time, I knew I had trust in Jonathan, so I wanted.
I'm sorry, Allison. I had no idea who the other room was going to vote for, but it ended up on you.
Yeah, nobody did, and you know what? Also, Jonathan, I'm really happy you won. I just had a really good time. We don't even.
It was so fun. It was so fun.
It was so fun, and I just, obviously knew a little bit less of what was going on than everybody else, but I had the best time, and I just like loved meeting all of you. Sincerely,
yes, same.
Yes, 100%. You played a great game still. Like it was not like you had a lot of connection, a lot of people protecting you. There's a reason why.
You were just such a positive presence in the game, and you were like, I felt like, just such a social threat going forward. Everyone in the room wanted to work with you, so that's why we're like, okay, we need to get her out now.
That's so nice.
For me personally, Allison, I had a connection with you before we said one word, sitting in a room for an hour. So that was part of like the heartbreak. If you can make a connection without saying anything, that's dangerous. So I was like, well, it's gonna hurt a little, but it's gonna help in the end a little. So.
Oh yeah, you were in the other room, right, Ashley? So I
voted for Allison. Yeah, I was like, it was either her or me. Is what my brain was thinking.
Yeah.
So I was like,
I voted for Miles just as a throwaway because he was in the other room.
Yeah, it's all good, you guys. Really
Allison,
I had an LOS. I had a little birdie in the back of my head said to play it, and I didn't, so it's fine.
Oh shit.
Anyway,
that's
bye.
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 Yeah, my problem that round was mostly just I did not think anybody would flip because I didn't think it would be in anybody's interest because you were really putting yourself in danger by flipping. I was really like, I wanted everybody to vote 6 and was hoping the other room would vote for me.
Yeah.
So I would be safe from the wheel. So
I knew Annie wouldn't vote for me. And even if the other room did all go on me, then Annie doesn't vote for me, does the same thing I did. So that's 5-5. So then I'm safe anyways because I would have not been on the wheel. So I thought it was a no-lose situation for me not to vote. If that
that was like
vote out.
You played that really perfectly.
Yeah, it was a perfect round for you because you got Allison out, who was was probably more against you than with you. Yeah, and then you kept Annie, who was like secretly with you.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I was going to touch on a couple of your games, but Sindri, first off, I was curious because it became pretty clear how many people were going to you for kind of direction as to what to do and how to play in specific rounds. And I knew it seemed so obvious that like, as well as you were playing, that it might be setting you up for a downfall down the line. Did that come into your head at any point that maybe people were going to start to view you as a big threat?
Yeah, I knew I was a big threat from the beginning, really, when I felt like I was the one throwing out names. I thought it would be like, I thought I was doing it well still. Like I'm used to being a leader in these sorts of things and being able to like lead without being overbearing. So I knew that that's just a part of my nature as a person. So I knew that I could do that, but when I started realizing, people are coming to me for like advice about stuff and like clarification about things, but it also felt like, okay, these people trust me. I feel like I had really good allies, like they were really protecting me through. But this is where it started to like all crumble. Like I had Walt 100%, I had Ashley 100%, I had Julianna 100%, I had Allison 100%. These are 4 like allies who I think would have gone all the way to Final 5 with me, and they would have cut me there. I was gone Final 5 or Final 4 probably. So I was playing a game 4, 5 or 4 basically. But I was hoping at that point like I could win the end comp and then threaten someone at 4. But it really, I felt like I had good enough relationships at that point, but losing Allison there, I was like, oh, this is gonna start to falter. But I also had Brian 100% before this. This is the round where Brian is dragged. So yet again, I start losing those allies. But I just decided before the game, like I have been applying for about 2 months now. And in the beginning, I was really thinking like, what is the perfect winning game I can play? But slowly I've just been like, no, I don't want to be like the person that tries to play the perfect game and goes out second or whatever. Especially someone like me usually has like a very like high ceiling, very low bar. Like I could have easily gone out really early. So I did not want to go out early without like really fighting hard in the beginning, which really set me up for later, like having good allies. But so I just decided I'm just gonna play how I naturally will feel in the moment. That usually works out best for me in games like this. Just do what's natural instincts in the moment. Sometimes it doesn't go well, like in the like echo chamber round where like it could have gone wrong with my name being all over the place on the speakers, or as we can see in a later round and the safety chain reverse thing, we'll talk about that later. That also where I feel like my mouth got me in trouble again. But yeah, I just tried to throw out names and have fun, but also I was not expecting making that good of connections in the beginning. I was not expecting like really feeling like, hey, I got like really good allies that I feel like I genuinely can trust. The one problem was one of those people were Jonathan at that point. So like the only people at this point that I was like, okay, I need to get these two people out and then I'm good, was Annie and Noah, because I also felt pretty good about Miles. But I was wrong about Jonathan and also didn't know that Jonathan had Annie. Oh, and Tosh was there as well, of course.
I wanted to touch on Julianna's game as well here, because I feel like it was, with Sindri, I feel like we pegged you early as someone as a real contender who was playing a game. And Julianna, I felt like it took a bit of time, but we all kind of came to the realization right around this time, maybe around before, like how good of a game you were really playing and how strategic you were and how you were doing it in a bit of, maybe a bit more under the radar, but you really were, pulling some strings. And I think it was apparent in this round too, how you were kind of calling shots for your room and telling them what was in their best interest. I guess tell me a little bit about your game and what your strategy was kind of going in.
No, I think definitely too. It took me a while to kind of get a hang of everything. So I know the first couple rounds I was kind of just getting a hang of everything, trying to talk to everyone, making those social bonds, because I think I knew that's something I could be good at if that's what I focused on. So I got lucky with Sindri. We were alone in a room in the first round for like a minute, so we got to just talk. And I think that's something that really helped me throughout the game, because I know when my name did come up, he deflected off of it. So I think that helped a lot. And then I think I got lucky too, because in some of the rooms where it was like, I feel like the social bonds really helped, because I feel like people did listen to me when we were in a room and I was like, okay, I think we all just need to do this, or this is what's going to benefit us the most. It wouldn't make sense about this person. People would actually listen to me, which helped a lot. And I think that helped a lot with the social bonds. I think my game was mostly social.
You would have probably won if our side had like, if at that point where Allison went out, it was mainly when Walt went out. That was when we lost control. If we had kept control, me, you, Ashley, Walt, you would have probably been the winner there. Probably. I see that you're the most likely. You had the highest win potential there. I think I had the lowest win potential there, but like you always, like I felt good from the beginning with you, and I also felt like, oh, she is playing really well, and she has the social capital to keep my name up from going up there, which is also important in allies.
Yeah, and this was around the time. This was around the time when I first started to realize how good of a game Julianna was playing, and she was the best player that I didn't have a relationship with. Like I had one with you, Sindri. I had one with Tosh from the starting room. I had one with Joe. I had one with a couple of other players also that were like really good. Ashley, but me and Julianna just never like spoke one-on-one or one-on-two even. That's why at the beginning of Jury is when I started targeting Julianna like openly.
Yeah.
I was really For me with Julianna, we hadn't seen each other until 2 or 3, and we kind of worked a few rounds together, but then we got together in a room one-on-one for about a minute. And she goes, I really trust you. I want to tell you. And then Miles comes in. But I pieced it together. She was telling me she had an LOS. So at that point, she moved up really high in my trusting list, because that takes a lot to tell someone you have an LOS. So I was like, you get a big star, you move up, I'm with you. So that was a big key play on your part, I think, for me working with you.
It is kind of strange to think about how our side kind of came together, because it wasn't really ever like, oh, we're all together here, we're gonna like trust each other. We all kind of like separately intermingled and like solidified something.
Yeah.
Like I barely saw Ashley from like the beginning, but because we just like locked eyes in the beginning, like me, you, final two, and I never doubted it. In another game, I might have like been screwed by how much I trusted certain people, but I was just like, these are my people. And I also like, I was full on protecting everyone that I had like in my alliance. Like that's probably also like a fault of mine. I was never willing to sacrifice a member of the alliance, except when I needed to with Walt.
Yeah, I did that with Allison and Walt as well, but I feel like I tried to deflect Julianna, Sindri the same way, like keeping those connections, because I think we did a lot of social game similarities that way, where we were trying to build up those connections and without being in a room together, but knowing we'd have each other's back, which I think is an interesting concept of not talking about it and just doing it. So
yeah,
you just got like, this is a game where you can't really like actually make like a connection that's like solidified. You have to just take a leap of faith and trust, and like people just have to do that. You can't let paranoia like get to your head about the people that you commit to, because if everybody's just, hey, I'm gonna trust, then everybody will trust. So I think that's what really, especially with Julianna being able to like infiltrate another alliance. Like we had that first room, but she was able to like, I was closer to Julianna probably than I was with Walt or Brian. In the end, I would have gone with her to the end before them. In the end, even though I had them like first. So that's a testament to Julianna's game.
Absolutely.
So moving on to round 11, the last round before jury. This was History Can't Repeat and a drag round. And this resulted in Noah going home. This is the second time he's played and the second time he got booted in the exact same position. And then he ended up dragging out Brian. Brian, your name was out there this round as well. I actually thought you were going to be the one who was going to go and do the dragging. But how did we get to Noah? How did we end up with this result?
Yeah.
So I think I fucked up here because I was thinking more for who I would be fine going home with, because a lot of like throughout the whole game I was kind of just keeping people who I felt like I was good with. So in the event that I do make jury, I had people who would most likely keep me. Hopefully, I didn't know my name was going around, so rip. But I just voted Noah, and then when he was the one that got booted, I figured I was probably gonna get voted out.
Yeah, I know. Me and Ashley were in a room with Tosh, and they were like, "Okay, we have to vote Sindri here." And me and Ashley were like, "Yeah, sounds good." And then I threw my vote on Noah, and I think Ashley threw her vote on Noah because I was like, "I'm not voting for Sindri."
We didn't talk about throwing it either. We just like picked a person and just happened to vote together.
I threw my vote on Tosh because I figured nobody had voted for them and nobody would vote for them, so it'd just be a throwaway vote. I just didn't want to get dragged.
For me, I knew I had a free ticket to the jury because I had not voted for Joe the entire game. So this was a situation where I knew everybody else had voted for Joe. So, and this was a case where you needed to vote for somebody who you needed to drag somebody who voted for you. So I'm like, well, nobody's voting Joe here, so I'm good. I'm in jury. And so I played this round very quietly. I was thinking ahead to the next few rounds, and what my situations would be with the people in jury who was left. My room was saying Brian. I probably should have deflected harder, but at that point I was thinking too far ahead. At this point, it didn't matter. Brian didn't end up getting the votes. So I was fine regardless. But yeah, that was my thinking here, is that I was just, at this point I was thinking ahead.
Brian, did you? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Brian if you, like, when you saw that it was Noah, did you know that it was going to be you, or did you think that you knew 100%?
Yeah, I figured it was going to be me. Like, I just knew it. So I was hoping that no one was going to vote Noah, but I played that wrong.
I did not think Noah would drag you. I had been planning for this round for a while, trying to get Noah as a target in this round. But having voted for him before myself. So I had been like planning like, oh, because I had been getting a lot of like pushback when I pushed Noah. So what I said usually then was, which was a risky move, but I said, oh, okay, but yeah, he has been so under the radar. He's a perfect vote for not previous vote round. So I had been like saying that consistently throughout, hoping that people would actually do that later because they would think, oh yeah, Noah's the person that never gets votes. So
I don't think Noah knew that you were throwing his. I don't know.
That's good. I was so scared it would get back to him because
and I didn't think I was that close with Noah. He was one of the people I wasn't really close with, so I figured out of everyone of those three, he would of those four, he would pick me.
I thought more people would vote Noah, so but I heard your name and then I went more against Noah because I wanted to protect you. But I had the same plan as Walt. You said, right, that you voted for Joe, or was it Jonathan?
Joe.
Yeah.
I voted for Toad.
Yeah, I voted for Joe as well because I thought the exact same thing Walt thought which was no, everybody has voted for Joe except me and apparently Walt as well. And there's no way he will go out, and so there's no way I'll be dragged because nobody's gonna drag someone that didn't vote for them, especially like this far into the game. And I felt like I had enough respect, so nobody would be like, "Oh, Sindri's done nothing. I'm gonna drag him." So I really thought I like perfectly played that one, and then like again, like I said, this thought, like I was like, oh, I'm getting back into like the power position by getting Noah out finally, but then it plummeted again when he dragged Brian, and I'm like, oh, okay, now what? Because we have four. I thought I had enough connections, but it was starting to be like, oh, but still we have Tosh here, we have Miles here, Annie, people that like I did not have a very close connection with.
It was kind of like room 4 versus room 5.
Yeah, it started to become that for
yeah,
sure.
that's definitely in the next round. It became super clear. Well, and then it kind of fell apart again. But it seemed like the lines were drawn.
I'm gonna head out, guys. But thank you guys.
Yeah, it was awesome having you. Great to play with you.
Yeah.
Bye, Brian. Great playing with you.
All right. So that brought us to jury, and this was another history cannot repeat. And this was where Walt went home. Boo-boo. We don't like that. Not good.
Awful round.
Awful round.
So I'm with you on that.
So there were 2 LOSs played, one of them effective, which I assume was Tosh. It seemed like Tosh was the one who was getting the votes there.
Yes.
But this was also the round what we were referring to before, where Sindri, Julianna, Jonathan, Ashley seemed like you were locking down for the next round as to what you were going to do and try to, put that in motion, which kind of fell apart when we got to safety chain. But who voted for Walt, and how did we get to the elimination here?
So I voted for Walt. So the 2 names that were thrown around were Tosh and Miles, and I had voted for both of them already. I figured most of the votes were going to go on Tosh, and Miles was probably going to get 1 or 2 votes. So I figured the person I vote for, I need to be comfortable with them going in case Tosh has an LOS. Then Miles would go, but I didn't want Miles to go because we still had that starting room thing. So in the event there somehow ended up being a tie, I had at this point I hadn't voted for Walt, Ashley, Annie, and Sindri yet, and I'd voted for everybody else left. So I had to be comfortable with one of them going in case it went to a revote, which it did. Of those 4, the one I had the least close relationship was Walt. So I threw my vote on Walt because I didn't want to waste my vote. I didn't want to just like throw it away either. I wanted it to count.
Yeah. No, I mean that was
and then it ended up being a 1-1 tie. Yeah. And then on the revote, my room immediately said Walt because they had voted for Miles in the before.
It was Julianna was the only one, right?
I had voted for Miles already, so my only option was to vote for.
That's why they locked in, because everybody could vote for both, I think, or something like that. But then Julianna had already voted. Yeah, but Julianna had already voted for Miles, so we didn't want to go to a wheel. So I think everybody in my room just immediately hopped on Walt.
I was this close to applying for the Latinx mini, and that we would have had that bond, man.
It's funny because me and Brian both played in the Latinx mini, so I was really happy to play with them. We never were in a room together. We never got to talk about anything. Like, we laughed about it afterwards. Me and Brian weren't really like aligned in the game because we just never talked. We were never in a room together. He was probably closer with you, Sindri, and everybody else than me because like I never once had Brian alone.
Yeah, I had Brian in the first room, and then I had him for like 30 seconds or something, just the two of us. So we were able to solidify a good like 2 bond. But this was really like the round where we did not know it, but it was really, this was where the sides split. Like this was where either we would take control or you would take control.
Yeah, in red.
And we had Tosh there, like we had the votes on them. But the problem was they had
an LOS.
They had an LOS, and like
really
in the room that I was
screwed it
in, Tosh came in and was trying to like plead to us and everything, and she kind of seemed a little too comfortable, and like, and I like once we got muted and everything, and I was like, and I was thinking I think they do have an LOS, but I just wasn't sure, and I knew all the votes were going on them anyway, so
that's also the power of Tosh. Like,
I was really
you can never read exactly what she's thinking there.
Very good poker face,
Tosh was such a cool, calm, and collected person. Like they were in my starting room for the first hour, and they just like I was bopping around. I think Annie was bopping around, Emma was bopping around, Miles was bopping around. Tosh for an hour.
Just like
they were just. I was like,
I was trying to get her to like,
and I was like,
I was trying to get like a dance thing going every single time, and she would they would never participate.
I was like, how did they do that? Like, I could not sit still for an hour.
Yeah,
but they were just cool, calm, and collected, and like power to them.
Yeah,
I liked Tosh a lot. When I talked to them, but they, it was a situation where I also felt like they were really a good strategic player. I was not making huge social connections because I could tell they were very focused, but at the same time I still felt good with them for most of the game. And then at this point in the game I wanted to turn my strategical game on a little bit, and so I wanted to lock down 5 people, and I originally wanted to actually target Julianna, but Annie had already said she voted for Julianna.
Yeah,
so
I had thrown your name out
of
like previous rounds just as like a throwaway vote.
Yeah,
I had to switch to Tosh, which I wasn't really on board with, but at the same time I wanted to lock down 5 votes because so I wanted to also say we all should just stick in this room and lock it down, and then if anybody comes in, room limits will blare off for forever, and then but then somebody left and I was like no, and then Tosh came in and I was like double no.
We had the exact same plan in the other room. Both rooms decided on Tosh.
No, it really didn't
but
matter.
The problem was they had the LOS, and they obviously sussed out that they were in trouble. And that was really where the game turned.
When they asked us and came into the room, I was just like, sorry, like it's not. Yeah. And
because
then when sorry.
If Tosh is gone there, like we have a really stable group, and Jonathan would not have had the same power to play the middle in the next round, and so it would have been interesting to see what would have happened there, but.
I'll get into why I did what I did in the next round in a second with the safety.
Yeah, in retrospect, I think I was the one that threw out Tosh, and I don't think that was a good move for me because I didn't really see that the divide between the rooms at that point, and Tosh was someone that
neither
was,
side
that
knew
was on my side.
Yeah, we didn't know what the room was for. Like, I had no idea that you were all in the starting room together, and you had no idea we were all in the starting room together.
I let the cat out of the bag in the next round.
Yeah, but it was too late for me then.
But you conveniently left me out of that, which was so great. I applaud you for that. But yeah, when it came down to the 1-1, I was really in a tough spot because
that time was
for 2 people that I felt like I had really great bonds with besides Jonathan. Those were probably my next 2 people I was tight with. But Miles, I just kind of had felt like between him, him being in my starting room, and then I had helped save him a couple rounds before. I felt like I had more pull with him, and Walt and Joe kind of also were like fighting a little bit. So I thought that I could bring Joe in more easily then.
Who was the one Miles vote? Do we know? Because somebody had to vote for Miles to send it to a tie.
Tosh must have.
Might have been.
They couldn't have voted for themselves.
It must have been Tosh. Yeah, that's right. Because they wouldn't have voted for themselves. Right.
Which was a perfect vote to do because a lot of people had voted Miles, and it was a forced vote on Walt the next round because I was talking to everybody in my room, and it was just like everybody had voted for Miles. I could have voted for either, but I was just like,
I literally wrote no vote because I had no vote.
Right, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked Audrey in the chat, do I have to vote for myself here because I've already
Yeah.
voted?
Oh, that would have been
I said,
interesting.
I'm just gonna pretend I don't have to vote for myself here, and I'm not gonna vote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Did
she
you
never
have to vote
replied,
for
but
yourself, right?
huh?
You didn't have to vote for yourself, correct? Or?
She never replied, so I
Okay.
assume I didn't. So yeah, it was an impossible situation for me, and that's okay. I mean, it wasn't. I don't feel like I misplayed at this point. I misplayed earlier rounds, but I don't feel like this particular round I misplayed. So I'm fine with it. I mean, it was a situation where it was just you got me, and that was it. And it was and that ended up actually being the reason I voted for you, Jonathan, at the end, because I mean, I was actually going to vote for Miles. I felt like I was working with Miles a lot more in the game. I had seen a lot more of his game. And when I realized at this point you had calculated this part, I was like, well, I mean, I was going to vote for Tosh if they made it to the end. But when it was you and Miles, and I was going to vote for Miles, and then it ended up being a situation where you really killed the jury questioning at this point, and you also told me exactly the stuff I wanted to hear, including how you were able to get me out of the game. I don't want to make it about myself because there was a lot of things you did right at the very end, but this also impressed me to get me out here because we didn't have anything really.
Yeah, we had
good. I mean, it was like when we were in rooms,
we had like
we were
it was
cool,
just nothing
but it was
solid.
like,
Yeah, it was nothing solid.
Exactly.
Well, I was very excited to see you on last night and play your first patron mini. You know how much we were rooting for you, obviously, and I think you played another. I mean, you're 2 for 2 in really solid games. Like I think you've proven that you know how to play this game, and that any game you go into, you're a force to get to the end. So
enough for an LOS play there. Like you were in a good spot. Like
Great spot.
we had a good group, and I think like I have no idea how that would have like actually played out because I feel like a lot of the other people in that group had bigger targets on their back than you did at that point.
I think if Tosh goes and not you in that round, Walt, you and Sindri and Julianna probably all make it to the end, and like all
it ends
of
up
us
being
don't.
a totally different game.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would navigate at that point, but I was feeling good, and I was starting to play a bit more aggressive at this point. I mean, I appreciate all the great words. I still feel like there's a lot of mistakes that I'm making along the way, but I'm trying my best here.
You can never perfect it. You can only try to get better each time. But thank you for coming on. We'll see you every day.
Bye, Walt.
Bye, Walt.
Bye, everybody.
All right. And that brought us to, I would say, probably the most chaotic round of the night, which was the safety chain. This did not go the way I expected it to go at all. So the difference was it's not the usual safety chain. This was going backwards, deciding who was not safe. And then the last person to get it decided who went home. And that was Tosh who decided. My thought process as we got down to it was the fact that it's probably smarter to say that you would eliminate someone who's already backstage, because that way they can't defend themselves. And I feel like we got into some problems there with you, Sindri, where you were saying someone who was still there in Annie, and that kind of threw everything off. How did you all think about playing that, and how did we get to the Sindri elimination?
So it landed on me, I think, right? And the reason I said the room thing with Tosh and Miles was because I actually hadn't been in a room with Tosh and Miles for a while, and obviously Annie knew I had her back, but I hadn't been in a room with both of them in a while. But I wanted to use that room connection moving forward, so I had to remind them. I had to tell them, look, it's the 4 of us started in a room. Let's stick together. And I figured if it kept going back and forth, it would end up on either Tosh or Miles making the decision. And I had just talked to Sindri and Ashley, so I figured, okay, they thought I was still with them also. So I didn't feel like I needed to remind Sindri and Ashley. And so the only person in my head that I wanted out this round was Julianna. So I had to put it on Julianna because I knew she might eliminate me if she had the vote, because we just didn't have any connection. So my decision was really easy. This is when I started targeting Julianna like more hardcore.
Yeah,
and that's why I selected Julianna.
Yeah, and I think it was hard too because I think everyone, at least I know Sindri and I too, was trying to play it like the regular safety chain where everyone's talking, trying to work out a deal or something. But I think with this, the easiest thing was just to be quiet. Like Ashley, I know you didn't talk too much and you made it all the way to the end of the thing. Yeah.
My best bet there would have been like if Jonathan just picked me straight away, and I could have shut my mouth for the rest, because I really, the thing was like,
you got me scared there because you pointed out like, oh, Jonathan pointed out the room thing, and like if you had just kept going, I felt like you could have gotten one of me or Miles or Annie or Tosh out this round. But then you kept talking, and then I was like, okay, never mind. I'm gonna be fine this round.
Yeah, the thing was like, in general, because it was a completely new twist, I was figuring it out on the spot and out loud. And that was my problem, is I was kind of, probably everybody was thinking a lot of what I was saying, but I was the only one vocalizing it, which meant like I was such an obvious thing. And the best thing is just to get taken out early, because you really start to just think about the people that are left. So when it comes to me, it's me, Annie, Tosh, and who was there as well? Ashley. I was that was when I finally realized what was like, how it was going to go. I was trying to do like the what is the zigzag here all the way, but like that was completely new information about the Room Alliance with you. So like I called it out, but also I was still trying to figure out what it meant. So when it got to those final, and I should have been more assertive, like, because it would have been best if Julianna would not have picked Joe then, because Joe would have probably not taken any of us out there. So I don't think he would have taken me out because he needed shields. So but it was kind of like, nobody had complete thing with Joe, but you just had better numbers throughout. So that was really what got, but it was really
and I didn't call out Joe because I thought he knew already that me and him were going to be like tight. So I didn't even mention Joe when I was talking during my decision making.
No, like when you didn't call me out, that like took a lot of like heat off of me.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah,
This time
when
I didn't mention you, that was on purpose.
No,
Today when I didn't mention you, that was just me.
I wrote down the alliance, and I was like, Annie ? Because he was like hesitant, like because you had to remind him that you.
Yeah, I acted like I was.
I was hoping you wouldn't say anything, because then I was like, oh shit, that gives us another number. That's why I didn't mention you.
Yeah, but it was really all down to the decision of me either choosing Tosh or Annie.
Yeah.
And I just felt like Annie had more against me than Tosh. And also, when I asked Tosh what she would do, she told me Ashley, which was a really like believable lie. Like, you're telling me that you would drag an ally of mine. You're not like blowing smoke out my ass by saying Annie. So it was really like, I just thought that it was more likely that you would drag me out than Tosh would. Because I thought either one.
I didn't have anything. I wasn't really coming after you until you threw out my name. Then once you threw out my name, I was like, oh, okay, you're really gunning hard for me. So now I have to.
Yeah. I was gone at that point. Like I think both of you would have picked me because I was the only one talking. I was obviously the biggest target there, and it's just like, why would you not take me out? And
it would have been between you and Ashley, because at that point I had also realized that you and Ashley were working really closely, and you were a bigger threat in the like the next round. I knew that there was still a lot of people that would have came after you, as opposed to I saw Ashley having an easier run to the end.
Yeah, that was one thing I was hoping that might be in your minds, because like I would have been a much easier person to target later in the next few rounds. Yeah. So I was really hoping that you would like really think about that. But there are like alternative strategies I could have used at that point. I just was thinking everything on the spot. But like, would a person have been able to like use an LOS there at all? Because there technically wasn't like an official vote for everyone. Would it? I
guess at the end, if when you're getting picked to be eliminated, you would have to use it, I imagine.
Yeah, I thought like afterwards,
and then
like,
they probably have to choose a second person.
Yeah, I should have said like, you don't want to pick me, I have an LOS, but then she would have just picked me anyway, and then had another vote to.
Yeah, to flush it. Yeah, she would have picked you anyway.
She would have flushed it anyway.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Sindri, I feel like If you played a week ago, I feel like or a couple weeks ago, you'd have an all-star spot. I really do believe that. I feel like you're, you made an impact in this game, and I feel like everybody was watching you. You played really well, and you have a good mind for Sequester.
I'm glad I made an impact. I'm glad what I hoped would like propel me forward. Just like not just the instinct, just not think too much beforehand about the game. Just go in and try my best and be assertive and. Either I would go out early, which I thought I was gone like round 2, but got further and got jury, which was really what I wanted.
No, you were a really great player, Sindri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Are you planning on playing again?
Yeah, I'm playing in a private mini later this month.
Oh, can you say which one?
I think I don't know if I can. I'll just say it. It doesn't matter. It's the Amazing Race one, the international one.
Oh, cool. Well, that'll be exciting to see.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
All right. So that brought us to the bounty round, which was the end, sadly, for Julianna. And I felt like, all right, so was this all tech? Like, were you going, does everybody think Julianna was going to go regardless of her sound going out?
So I was always gonna throw out Julianna's name, but she just gave me the perfect reason with the tech. But if she didn't have that tech issue, once everybody had that standstill, I was still gonna throw out Julianna because I needed her out. I started in the previous round by making her a nominee, up for elimination right away. And I knew I couldn't let her get any further. So it was either gonna be her or if she flipped it on me, then she flipped it on me. But I was going to try to get her up because of everybody left, I had the least relationship with Julianna. I just used it as an excuse, the tech, but
yeah,
if not, I would have come up with something else.
Yeah, No, go ahead.
You were my bounty that round, and I didn't want to push you because we were working together. And also, what was the point of the bounty in that one?
There wasn't the bounties.
There was really no point in that one.
Yeah, I was very confused by what that even was. It was just because it didn't make sense to me. I didn't know what the impact that it had on the game. I didn't. Yeah.
Does it really benefit you to get your bounty out? That was kind of my debate, and I'm like, I don't think it does in this round. So I voted for Tosh. I'm pretty sure, and I was like, well, we'll see if it was an LOS or because I knew you had one LOS. I didn't know if you still had it. So I was like,
I had the round where there was a successful LOS and then a non-successful LOS. I had played it that round because I walked into a room. This was the second history can't repeat itself, I believe. And Sindri was like, we can't vote Julianna. Like, we're not going to do that. And I was like, okay, well, they still might vote me. I don't know. So I played it just to be safe. I wish I had saved it because I would have been so badass if I couldn't hear anything. LOS, but yeah, no. And
we considered that if it was a strategy, like how cool it would have been of a strategy if you were faking that you couldn't hear and then just played an LOS.
So badass. I wish.
Yeah. I would have obviously hated that.
Yeah. I mean, if I hadn't played it that one round, I probably would have been like, I don't know what's going on. I probably should play it, but it worked out that way. Yeah. But yeah, it was a bummer. But it happened.
You're a huge threat, Julianna, and that's why I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was really excited I got to play, and I think if and when I play again, I think I know what I need to work on. I need to be better about owning my game, and then there's a couple other things I need to work on, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think your social game's great.
Yeah, no, your social game is so on point.
Yeah, for a first-time game, you killed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. We hope to see you again. I mean, I've heard rumblings that you'll be playing again already. So all right. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Love you guys. See you later. Bye.
See you later.
Yes. Oh.
All right. So
now my round.
Now your round.
Yeah.
So
this round.
Tosh was given safety after the Julianna exit. Essentially this was going to be Joe. If he didn't get the LOS, right? Like this was pretty much Joe.
I tried pushing it on Ashley because she was the one person out of who was left that I didn't have a strong relationship with. So that's why I really tried to go hard with Ashley. But Joe, I think, was just such a big target at that point that it kind of got shifted to him. But yeah, I was also a little dodgy because I knew he had previously played an LOS and thought he could have found another one.
No, and then this round had an LOS on the screen too. I remember it went on the screen.
He found it in the round.
Yeah, he got it. And
once I saw that, I was like, I can't vote for Joe because if everybody else votes for Joe and Joe votes for somebody, if Joe votes, I wanted to make sure even if he voted for me, I voted for somebody else. So I voted for Miles this round.
Yeah, no. So I think it was just all over the board probably with the votes.
Yeah.
And I probably just had two. So
I thought I was going when the LOS was played. I for sure thought it was me. I was like, and my jaw was on the floor for 17 seconds after. It was.
Did you vote for Annie, Ashley?
No, I voted for Joe.
It must have been Joe and Tosh, maybe.
Yeah.
I was going to say, my initial thought was it was only Joe. Like it was just one vote.
It couldn't have been because I voted for Miles, so that would have been
Miles. Yes, so there must have been.
So it must have been Joe and Tosh at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, because I know Miles didn't vote for me as well. So yeah, I thought I had more like faith in the like room the room alliance and everything, that like I would be good that round and not necessarily get more than one vote. But unfortunately I didn't. And I mean, I had a lot of fun playing, and yeah, there's so much for me to learn. I'm kind of like, even though I did play earlier this week, I'm still very much like a newbie. I haven't watched too many of them. Like I know a lot of people, even though it was their first time playing, they've seen like 100 minis before. I've only watched a couple that I had friends in, and then would like kind of tune out more once they got eliminated and everything. So, but it was a lot of fun playing, and
I'm always impressed when people play twice in a week. I always
Yeah.
feel like that's so much. It's so mentally draining.
It was. Well, I mean, no, I had so much fun on Wednesday though, and I felt like I was just easing into it, and I had really bad tech issues on Wednesday that made the game not as great for me. I couldn't see anybody's faces for the entire time. I just had green screens everywhere for like 4 rounds, but yeah, so it was great. And then I also felt like I had a good experience just being on the jury for that period and everything, because when I went into the jury room, there was kind of like not 100% consensus. A lot of people were rooting for Tosh, but had a feeling that they weren't going to make it further, like get to the end. So that's when they got out, I was really able to like push Jonathan and really be his like cheerleader in the jury and everything. And then Joe came in, who was also a strong ally of him. So I think that we helped sway the jury a bit.
It was great having you on. Do you think that you'll any future plans for Sequester?
Yes, I do. I don't think I'm allowed to say which one it is though, but it's in September and end of September, so that narrows it down to probably a dozen or so. But yeah.
They plan them way out now. They're
Yes,
planning way
exactly.
in advance.
So yeah, but I had a lot of fun playing, and yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you for coming on.
How do I stop?
Amazing, Annie.
Love you.
All right, so just the 3 of us. Getting down to the final 5. So this was trivia, and Ashley, you got safety here.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of where Tosh's game went off the rails, because I thought Tosh was in a position to win the whole thing if they went with Joe.
They really were.
Yeah, and that's what surprised me when Joe got voted out here.
So once I lost Annie was obviously my closest ally, and once she went, I was like, all right, I have to come up with a quick plan. Once Annie left, I had to come up with a quick plan, and I locked on telling Tosh and Miles, let's stick with the room alliance. That's the only card I had, basically. Like Joe had his card ready. He was gonna try to convince Tosh and Ashley, I think, right? He was going.
Yeah, I think he was trying to. Yeah.
You two were the 3 were the biggest threats, and you 3 should stick together. So if they did that, then they would have all been the final 3 instead of me, Miles, and Ashley. But I played my only card, and I'm very happy, obviously, that Tosh ended up deciding to stick with to get Joe out versus sticking with Joe, because if they went with Joe, then I think they would have won.
Yeah, I voted for Joe this round as well. I think in my brain he had a storyline from the beginning to the end that I thought the jury might be compelled to. So I was like, I think I have to throw it this way just to get my best bet attempting to fight.
Yeah. Joe and Tosh, I think that would have been a close final 2, but I think they were both the 2 best players at this point to win. And so I had to get them both out at 5 and 4 in my head. And the only way I did that, I think, was getting Joe out first and then Tosh. I couldn't do, well, Tosh was safe, but even if they weren't, I couldn't do it the other way, I thought.
Yeah, my thinking was that if Joe went to 4, if Tosh then voted Joe with everyone else, I don't think Joe would have dragged Tosh.
I thought that. I couldn't let them both get to 4. I couldn't let them both get to 4. No, yeah. I thought they wouldn't drag each other because they would have thought the other is the best player so far. Yeah. And I obviously wanted to win, so I couldn't let that happen.
Yeah. So that brought us to 4. Not a lot, not a lot of gameplay here at 4. I feel like it was a bit of a timid final 4. Tosh didn't threaten to drag anyone, which was their
they threw my name. They threw my name out at the end of, like, near the end to say that they would drag me, and that's when I was like, all right. I just couldn't go to the end with Tosh, so I was like, I'm going to go at 3 because Tosh is going to drag me, then that's how I'm going to lose. But I can't win if I don't vote out Tosh. So I'm going to take my chance and then hopefully reverse the drag, which is what happened after. But I had to vote Tosh out at this point, or else Tosh would have won, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And all respect to Tosh, because Tosh played an amazing game. Cool, calm, and collected the whole way.
Yeah, I said last night, I feel like Tosh's game is the complete opposite of how I play the game in terms of how cool Tosh was and collected the entire time. Nothing ever got to them. It was always just the same reaction and just so relaxed, I am a basket case the entire time I play an entire game and I shake. So yeah, it's the complete opposite energies. And I loved watching it. And I thought it was like really, really cool to see someone like, you know, be able to be that relaxed in such a high pressure game.
Yep. They held their cool the entire way. And that's why I had to get them out when I did.
Absolutely. What did we think about the drag here? I mean, it wasn't amusing for you, Ashley, but it was a little funny in terms of you weren't mentioned the entire time, and it was kind of Jonathan versus Miles, and just you got randomly dragged.
I was trying to convince Tosh to drag Miles because I was like, me and Ashley spoke up actually and said we wanted Tosh out, whereas Miles kind of was like, maybe, I don't know. And then once Tosh started letting us talk for the drag part, I was like, well, Tosh, me and Ashley at least spoke up. Miles over here didn't say anything. So when they dragged Ashley, I was super shocked.
Well, and for me, I didn't know if I should speak or if I should stay quiet in that round, because I was like, if I talk, does that bring a target back to me? Because I thought they might stick with their original decision, but maybe I should have said something. Maybe I could have talked about how from like the last 5 votes I've been targeting them and how I respect their game, and it was kind of back and forth. You know, I've been from like final 7, I think I voted for Tosh a few times. So
yeah, and I think my pitch to them was the only one I had, which was I at least was upfront and honest whenever I did target them at the end. And I wanted to get a chance to give my game speech to the jury. And I'm really thankful that they didn't end up dragging me.
Yeah, and I know in the safety round or the anti-safety round, I said I would drag Tosh out public that far. So that probably stuck with them, maybe as a sense of, well, they were coming for me. Maybe I want to take them. And I don't know. In looking at the jury room too, I had a few people I thought I could get votes from. So I don't know if there was a chance to win or not that way.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, when you got to 2, did you think you had it in the bag for the most part? Did you think you had the votes to win?
I thought it was close before the jury questioning, and then during the jury questioning, I could kind of sense from Miles's answers that I had a better shot than I did. And after Joe came in and Joe said that he thought that he knew my game or something like along those lines, and then just asked Miles a quick question, and I think Miles's answer, I don't think that when Joe over versus my game, I thought I had a really good shot at winning. After Joe came in, I was like a little more relaxed. But for the first couple of jurors, I was like, oh, maybe it's close. But yeah.
I definitely give you credit. I mean, I think we maybe, as a panel slept on your game a little bit last night. I don't know if you watched it all, but I felt like it wasn't. Some games are very apparent and you can really see who's running it. And in your case, I felt like it wasn't apparent really at all from watching, but it was very clear from the jury how much they respected your game. And I think it's clearer now, what are we, 2 hours in, like having you explain it, we actually see the moves that you made. Whereas in some cases, you just really can't see it while the game is going on as a viewer.
Yeah.
Yep. I think my plan throughout the first half was just establish the social relationships, make sure I was in as many rooms as possible, but not ever be like the figurehead, like Sindri, I think kind of was for that alliance.
Same.
And then once I hit jury, I knew I had to hit the ground running. I had to get out the people that I wasn't close with right away. Julianna, that's why Julianna and Walt. And then I had to get rid of the biggest jury threats, which were Joe and Tosh.
And I guess we will wrap it up on this. We have Winners at War coming up here, if not next week, maybe next week after.
I've heard about this Winners at War.
Already. Well, they were quick. What are your thoughts? Where do you feel like you fit into the game? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm really excited. I think of it as I actually do play a little poker, so I think of it as a free roll in poker
Absolutely.
speak.
Yeah.
Where like I'm a little fish in a pond full of sharks. Is a good way of explaining it. And even if I'm going to try my best. Don't get me wrong. But even if I'm first, I'm just going to enjoy the experience. Getting to play with all these legendary players, all these great players, all these awesome people. I've obviously just started getting to talk to some of them, versus before I'd never talked to any of them. So I'm just going to take it as a fun experience, and I'm excited to play.
Actually, you're in it now. If you weren't in it before, welcome to the big leagues, because you got amassed into it immediately, being like one of the final winners. Like there's, it's an interesting spot to be in.
It's a little overwhelming, but I'm really excited. I'm still taking it all in, but I'm excited to play for sure.
Absolutely. We're excited to see you play. Thank you both for sticking with us. Let's throw the Twitters up there. Everybody give everyone a follow. Thank you both for joining us. Thank you to our mods as always. Thank you to Will from America for the theme song. If you go over now, also playing, I guess on our Twitch, the RHAP private mini is happening, and Susie is running the stream there. So go watch that. And we will sign off from here. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
We'll see you out there.